Hey, everybody. We've got Jeff Moore with Thursday Night Boardroom, a community that is your own personal board of directors. We dive into how if you can see it, we can share it. Jeff explains how he continues to learn with a purpose. And Jeff gifts a give that you'd be nuts not to take him up on. Check it out. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Brandon Strauss, and I believe that life gives to the giver. And today we have a real special guest, a dear friend of mine. I can still picture the first time I ever talked with him, so I'm getting a little gushy-eyed over him. We've got my dear friend Jeff Moore of Thursday Night Boardroom to help you with the give. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brandon. At the very beginning, I thought you were going into your podcast voice, and then all of a sudden, it just turned into Railer. It was that soft, supple voice that you
Yeah, that
use. But
soft, silky smooth.
it
All
is,
right,
it
you know
is,
what?
it is always wonderful to be here, and I literally cherish the times that we get together, and we do quite often. So
Yeah.
I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. As opposed to waiting to the end of the show for our members, where's the best place to connect with you outside of the give that you're going to tease at the end of the podcast?
Okay.
Where's the best
Oh,
place for them to, yeah, where's the best place for them to reach
you
out
know
to
what?
you?
We just talked about this, and I'm gonna change it to Jeff at the successfinder.com.
Nice, nice. We will make sure that we put that in the show notes if you do have trouble remembering that, but we will get that over there. Let's just dive into it. Our ability to gain access to information has really changed over the last 2 to 3 years. In our younger years, it was textbooks, teachers, friends, and family. Beyond the Googles, YouTubes, and other search engines out there, how has your learning changed from your early years versus today?
It's more purposeful. I just think that I only look to learn things that matter to me. I'm only looking to I look to learn, and my learning is how to articulate a better question.
Mhm. What is that
Is
saying? I called you the other day on this. What is that saying right
Oh,
there?
yeah, you were coming back from Arizona. Um, you're only limited by your ability to articulate an effective question. And the better you can ask a question, especially in this day of Chat GPT, right? The better the question you can ask, the better the information is that you're going to receive, or the better the feedback or the answer you're going to get. So, um, more fulfilling answer
Ah,
that you're going to get. And
yeah, I love that. And you
and
were talking
the
about
other thing
more
is,
purposeful. Yeah, keep going.
well,
Yes, sir.
but the other thing is the question is pregnant with the answer. So you really have a difficult time even articulating an effective question if you don't have some idea of the answer, right?
Hmm.
And so the better you can continue to ask questions into this queue, the better the answers are going to be, and the more specific the answer is going to be, which are then going to give you the ability to ask even better questions uh, of yourself, of the universe, of
There
Chat
you go.
GPT.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yourself, the universe, chat GPT. I don't know if that's the hierarchical point on there, but that
Sure.
there's the thing, and that's something that I've learned just watching and listening to you over the last many years is being able to ask yourself better questions. You
Hmm.
said something in there. You said more purposeful learning, things that matter to you. Was there a time and point, and what did that look like? And that what you were learning wasn't really purposeful and it didn't matter at the end of the day. Looking back, it's easy. Hindsight's 2020. It's easy to play the poor man's mentality and go backwards in time. But what has driven you? Where did you start from to have that purposeful learning?
It wasn't like um, yesterday. It was back in the 90s, as I was uh, really prescribing, I guess, to Windshield University. There was I was driving a lot in Southern California, whether it was to Los Angeles or to the Valley or down to San Diego. I was probably driving in excess of 2,000 miles a month, and after a while there, it was like, hey, what are you going to fill the time with? It was before, at one time it was before, um, cell phones, or at least cell phones that weren't 45 cents a minute,
Mm,
and so, um, you could listen to the radio. I was totally bored with that, and so I prescribed, or subscribed, I should say, to Nightingale Conant, which was where all the tape programs were. Whether it was Tony Robbins or Brian Tracy or Joe Polish or any number of people. Joe had the number one marketing program on Nightingale Conant for God, for a lot of years, a
mm,
lot of years. And so, I would listen to these. I was a sales guy, so they had a subscription called Sound Selling Magazine, and it would just tell you all these great stories of sales connection, and that's where I learned that empathy was really the thing that was going to drive sales, instead of the features and benefits, and connecting with your client. um, that really was a big part of it. But I'll tell you, Brandon, that the thing that's most important to me was just, and it's maybe in my DNA, but I love to share, and I love to teach, and I love to coach. And so there's a saying that we have in Thursday Night Boardroom that is, learn to teach, teach to know and share with passion. Right. And so, and all the while, everybody's like, well, what about doing? And it's like, you've got to be doing the entire time, because you really can't learn anything without doing it. And, and even my boss will say, some people teach and some people do. And it's just like, well, I actually do, so I can teach. So I'm good with all of that. But when I found that me learning something new and being able to associate it with an individual I care about made me want to learn it even deeper, because it was not just, oh, can I consume this, but how am I going to turn around and share this to be of value? Like, oh my God, I'm learning this and I can't wait to share it with Brandon, you
mm,
know? And so that became the excitement. That became the treat in all of the learning, right? The big bonus was, I can't wait to learn this so I could turn around and share it with Brandon. I can't wait, or whoever. Right. And now it's gotten to the point over the last 20 years, or, maybe 15, 20 years.
30. We're about
Yeah.
30 on there now.
But I mean, you look back to like Thursday Night Boardroom,
Mm,
and when it started back in 2010, um, but maybe 5 years ahead of that. So, it's going on almost 20 years. But um, the uh, the ability to learn something on behalf of somebody else was something that was really important. Now, a lot of stuff that I do in the business I'm in the seafood and the meat business, I'll learn something in order to share it with my customer, to have a greater value to them, to help them understand the story behind something, or help them, learn this why, to help them articulate a better question for themselves.
mm,
And so that's really been the excitement of all this, is that I don't consume knowledge like, you know, back in college or high school. It's like I'm consuming it so I can take the test, so I can do that. It never worked for me. I mean, I did okay. Trust me, I did okay. But me learning on behalf of somebody else, being their advocate, uh, out there traveling around the world, learning about, seafood, and the way people process their seafood, and how things are done. You know, that was what made my job the best job in the world, because I traveled around the world, you know, sourcing seafood and then coming back and telling stories about it. And as a storyteller, that's really kind of the thing for me, was I'm learning it to ask better questions so I can tell a better story.
man, I hear so much love. Like what comes
Yeah.
out of that is your love for not only your knowledge, but then how to share that with others. And
Yeah.
it's such a lost art right there, is you're doing it out of love. And that's what makes you one of the best, if not the best in the business in what you do.
it's super reciprocal and inspiring because people know that I love to tell a story, but at the same time, then after, if you're truly a good friend of mine, then you're doing the same thing. I can't wait to share this with Jeff. I
Mm,
went to this restaurant and we had this great, steak. I can't wait to talk about Jeff. Well, really, what was that? And and so it's been really fun, uh, especially over the last 20 years, with friends and colleagues and customers and things. You know, telling stories to each other, telling each other's story.
yeah.
And helping people seize things. And so that's really where the learning comes from for me, is to be able to learn so I can turn back around and teach it. And in that, I learn it even better.
Yeah. You are a gift of knowledge. And intentionally mean the words gift of knowledge. I mean, in
Right.
the entrepreneurial space, it's easy to lose our footing, lose our confidence and sometimes second guess our decisions that we're making along the way. I know I've had
Oh, yeah.
conversations with you around this. How have you developed a winning mindset? And what are some of the techniques or practices you're using to overcome self-doubt or limiting beliefs?
Well, um, um, I have people around me that won't put up with it. First of all, the guy I work for, the guy that's got had me create the "Go Take It" sign behind me, and the "Be in the Fight" sign over there, right? And everything's about blocking and tackling, and I mean, foundational things, behavior things. And so if I'm second guessing myself, or I'm getting caught up in my own underwear, if you will, um, he's the first one to just go, "Whoa, like what the hell is this?"
Mm,
And so he continually elevates me, um, to a place that isn't necessarily common, um, or that you're not, I don't even use comfortable. I just, that I know I'm capable of doing, but some days I just don't want to, and that's just not an option around here. And then Doreen's the same way. My wife is the same way. My kids are the same way. Um, they expect me to operate at a different level, and that is the sincere obligation that I have to not only my family, the people I work for, but my friends. To be that guy that everybody feels, um, that they know that they're safe around, and they know that I'm truly interested in in them. I think that the most interesting person in the room is the one that's the most interested, and that's just something that I'm very blessed to be around. If I'm, whether it's Nick, if I call Nick and I'm caught up in my, and even Sean Stevenson, I don't know if you ever got to know him, probably not before he died, the little guy, right? The
no, but I
3 foot
got to
giant.
learn a lot through you and Joe because of him.
But yeah, but he would call every so often and catch me at a moment, and I'd start to complain to him. And all of a sudden he'd go, "Yeah, well, it could be worse." You're just like,
And if anyone doesn't know, look up Sean Stevens. There's what Sean
Stevenson,
Sean Stevenson
Dr. Sean
Day.
Stevenson. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Stevenson. Sean Stevenson.
The again from the stories I've heard and just watching the day that Joe helped put together. It
Day of
truly is
Sean. Yeah, actually, you can go to
Dave Sean.
dayofsean.com and learn
Yeah.
everything you need to know about
Yeah.
the guy.
Truly is. And
SEAN. Yeah.
the one thing to hit back on there, you said it's the people around you. I'm
Yep.
sitting here and I'm have this logo for what it is and
Uh huh.
the companies that we have because of the people in the room, because of the
Yep.
people that I put myself around. I mean,
Yep.
it started with a Travis Chappell to a Steve Sims to a Nick
Yep.
Peterson to a Jeff Moore. And
Yep.
it really is. They will challenge you. They won't let you rest because they expect greatness out of you because of what they see. And so by surrounding yourselves with like-minded individuals that are going to push you when you need to be pushed, I think it gets you so much further in life as opposed to surrounding yourself with yes people.
Yep. It's true. And also, you can get caught up in some things that, some woo woo stuff, or things that might not serve you or anybody around you. It's just something that you kind of prescribe to, that came, that you're like, yeah, I'm going to, use some words or some things that just sound a little strange. And every one of us is going to, pounce,
Yeah.
and they're going to say, whoa, what the hell, who the hell's
Yeah.
this?
Who's this guru?
So it keeps you, Nick's book bumpers. I mean, your friends and your colleagues and the people that are closest to you can represent there are the physical manifestation of those bumpers, and that's the thing. If you can eagerly and happily receive that type of love, albeit tough love, or true understanding, uh, beyond anything else, um, that's the gift. That's the real gift that that is bestowed upon you.
Yeah, no, and one piece that I want to put in there that sometimes gets overlooked is the family, your family,
Yep.
keeping them informed, but not throwing it down their throat because they weren't in
Oh yeah.
that room. When you do a data
That's right.
download, it's got to be in little micro steps, a little like micro doses, because they're not living those moments, and you come home trying wanting to like share all of it with them, and they might not be there. So understanding that you have a family at home and taking time with them so they know that like they're a part of that journey in some form or fashion.
And that's a big part of it. I mean, I remember Doreen and I had a back in probably 2012, 2013, when I was part of Joe's Platinum, and I was out doing things, and it was Doreen was kind of, she felt secondary, and in a lot of ways she was at that time. And we figured out that that's just not the way we can be as a couple. And we needed to make each other. That's where safety and vulnerability came from. Is we need each other to feel safe in their vulnerability, and we need each person to feel like they're the most important person in the world to each other. And that's not always easy to do, and it's very easy to take for granted. But that was, that's very important. But the other thing that you're mentioning about that goes beyond just family, and that is, as a leader, let's say you're the CEO of a company, the owner of a company, whatever your title is, and you end up going to something like a Genius Network, or something like the Guardian Academy, or the Success Finder, retreats, uh, and you come home and you want to regurgitate all that, not on your family, but on the people in your business. And you now all of a sudden look to pivot because of this stuff that nobody learned except you. You came back and you're talking glowingly about all these people nobody's ever heard of. And now you're pivoting into something that nobody's familiar with. You want to make somebody feel very unsafe. That's right there, the prescription. There it is. There's the recipe for making somebody feel very unsafe. And so that's not only important for family, but it's important for the place that you run, and the people that work for you, is super important. Because, by the way, if you've been to one, you've probably been to another, and you're probably going to some more. Can you imagine how people feel if every time you come back from an event that you're pivoting and going to people, going, write a list down of everything you do in the course of a day, and they're just like, what the hell are we doing now? And it's I'm going to fix us. It's that type of thing. And so you got to be real careful. And it's exactly like you said, they weren't there. They
Yep.
don't know who you were talking to, what you were doing, what you were learning, but you're coming back now, and everything's going to be different.
Right.
You only have to go to a couple of those types of events before everybody in your company starts to go, I think it's time for me to find something else to do. You know?
Yeah. No, that is very true. I've seen it. I've experienced and lived some of that
Oh,
because I
me
didn't realize.
too.
And I've been, here's the thing though. Not one person's left because of that. I can tell you that. So fortunately, I
Good.
learned
Yeah.
eventually through my family and through my friends and business partners how to take your foot off the pedal a little bit, as
Yes.
opposed to just forcing it down. Just small little pieces when you come back, but nothing more than just checking in. Sometimes they just need to be checked in on the team as opposed to having the next new shiny object.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But it's it's a lesson I learned many, many years ago, but one that it doesn't mean that I'm not going to apply some of that stuff either. It's just how you do things is just important as things get done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Speaking of that, getting things done, remaining nimble and, being able to adapt quickly in real time is, to me, it's kind of key to success.
yeah.
What are the tools that you use to work through uncertainty, change, disruption as it's happening in real time? And I know from what you have to deal with over the last few years, you've probably had a few tools with disruption.
Yeah. Yes. Um, fortunately during that time, Nick Peterson and I had become very dear friends. And so I had somebody that helped me through a certain part of that. But um, I think that through these uncertain times, if you have a process of delivery, you've got something that you know how to do, you know who you are, and you know how you do it. If you have that kind of clarity and certainty, you can live through a lot of things. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be anxious moments, but if you have a if you really truly are comfortable with who you are and the way you do things, and you have evidence that what I'm doing works, because you do it with repetition, um, and um, you know pig-headed discipline and determination. Um, I think that there was a lot of things like that that gave me confidence in what I was doing, and as weird as that, it goes back to questions,
Mm.
and being able to ask yourself during times of despair, what is happening now, you know, and and who's in charge, who's responsible for taking us, you know, out of this moment or these moments of despair and forging ahead. Um, for me, that's always been my default mode, even on the back of my business card, is I've got 5 questions that when I ask, when I meet with somebody in the food service business or restaurant business, or distributor or whatever, these 5 questions, especially when I'm asking a restaurateur over the last 14 years, I've had it on the back of my card. It's it starts with, like, what are you using now? Like, what's going on? How do we know, like, what the thing is? And even today, an example where I had a, a vendor supposedly sell my specification product to a competitor, and I lost some business because of it, or seemingly lost some business. And John comes out of the office, my boss and friend comes out of the office and says, have we started to ask the right questions? Is this is is that company really quoting this particular spec, or is it our spec? Like,
Mm.
are they quoting our
Apples
spec, or
to
is it something
apples.
else?
Usually
Do
it's
they
not.
know? Do we know for sure if it's that? Because these seem a little different to me. What their pricing and everything seems like we might be getting upset about nothing right now, but that's the first question to ask, and so all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, what are you doing now? And so you go back to that, and what is happening now, right? And what are we doing about it, or what are we doing with this, right? And how consistently are we utilizing this, right? And where did we gain this information? Where are we gaining this service or this product or this understanding? I mean, those are things that give us better answers and help us ask the next 5 questions or 4 questions. And so that's what ended up, even today, it happens every day. And it's funny because anytime I am in a customer situation and I need some help, I didn't very rarely with seafood do I not ask the questions, but if it's beef, pork, or chicken, there's a lot of different components to things and how things are produced and processed and whatever. And those questions are super appropriate, the 5 questions that I ask on the back of my card. And if all of a sudden I go into John or I go to somebody and I say, this is what my customer is looking for, and they start asking a question that is representative of questions on the back of my card, and I don't have the answers, everybody jokingly says, okay, you're getting your cards taken away for a week. You're not going to be able to use them, and so it's like, shit. So, that's again, back to those people around me, and holding me accountable. And so it's, it's, I hope that kind of answered the question.
No, it absolutely does. And the prone teen world, you're king of the castle. In the community space, you hold such a dear place in my heart, and other people, many other people that I know, and we look forward to on a monthly basis,
Yep.
of something that I want to talk to you about called Thursday Night Boardroom. When
Yep.
someone invests in their future, they usually have a better than vague idea what they're going to get. What should people expect when they enter your reality and come to Thursday Night Boardroom?
So Thursday Night Boardroom, just real quickly, is what people would recognize now as a mastermind. It was never intended to be that from the beginning. It was just a really kind of a place for us to learn and get better together, and watch people's videos, if you will, and talk about them and what those things mean to each other, uh, and really have a good dialogue there. But which turned out to be, ultimately a mastermind, where everybody that if you're if you're attending something called a mastermind and you're not the center of the universe for a little bit of time during that, it's not a mastermind. It's where people come together to collaborate, and be able to talk about what's going on in their world, and to be able to share their opinions and ideas with others about what they're going through. And so that's really what a true mastermind is, where people have a common goal, of elevation or to attain something. You can have a mastermind within a company that everybody's got this particular set of goals or KPIs, um, you know, in place. But what we have is a group that is now mastermind group. It's got, almost 1,000 people from 27 countries, but that doesn't matter, the numbers. It's the people that show up at Thursday Night Boardroom the last Thursday or this month, the first Thursday of the month. Uh, um, and it will, just because of scheduling things, but you are expected to be vulnerable and to be able to share. But the my job is to help you feel safe in that vulnerability. And so when somebody comes in, and there could be 10 people in the room or 20, we kind of talk about a theme, if you will, of the
Mhm.
of the day, or here's where we are in the year, and da 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 da, and there's some interaction, and then we get around to every single person that's in the room, or for the virtual room, if you will. And so they can share, they can first introduce themselves in a certain way that we call the compelling introduction, that we'll be talking a little bit um, about who they are, what they do, how they do it, who their customer is, all these things, and the value that they deliver, um, and the evidence of their
Mhm.
value. Um, but and then what's going on, like what are they sharing? What are they seeing? What are they observing? And it could be, hey, I'd really like to, get your advice on something. This is where I am, and people will share where they are. If they have a hard time coming to that, if it's nobody, I find it very few people like that whiteboard, or, the blank canvas of trying to explain. But, that's where me and my ability to, ask questions, articulate effective questions, um, helps somebody. And sometimes it's just like you and I did in that Mexican joint when we met. You know,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
you
Oof.
know, like hey, it's who sits next to somebody and they just go, "How do you make your money?"
Yeah.
How do you make money? No, not this thing. How do you make money? Like, and how much time you spend. I mean, it was it was so intrusive, but you were so generous with this because you knew where it was coming from. It wasn't judgmental or it wasn't anything. It was truly a desire to get to know who you were, and and what you see, right? And so that's obviously the beginning of a very, very close and honest and valuable relationship that we have with each other. Um, but that's what you can expect in Thursday Night Boardroom. That you're going to expect to bring it. You're going to expect to give us your full self, but you're going to be expected to work your way through these vulnerable moments. And but what's the magic on the other side is that what some people think are these insurmountable obstacles, you now have a room full of people that are like, I've been there before. Let me
Mm.
let me help you. Let me give you my story, tell you my story, and see if that helps you, you know, tell a better story to yourself. And so, that's what Thursday Night Boardroom is. I think that, for me, some of the best compliments I get is I didn't sleep that night. I was just, my mind was spinning with what we were talking about, and how people are receiving this stuff, and it's so meaningful to them, um, that it can be something personal, something business wise. Um, the way they turned around and helped somebody else is something else, because when they're helping somebody else, they're truly talking to themselves as well. And so that's what Thursday Night Boardroom is a place that it's going to be your private board of directors, your own personal board of directors that love you unconditionally. And you're coming from all walks of life, because I believe, as well as I guess the definition, wisdom comes from multiple perspectives. And so it's not a BNI that's just like real estate people or marketing people or online people or professionals. It's they come from all walks of life.
I can tell you, from attorneys to CPAs to Emmy award-winning artists to
Doctors, yeah. I mean,
doctors,
it's
titans of the industry, business people,
yep,
marketing, like just
yeah,
titans that have come, all
yeah,
different walks of life, showing up, being there, virtual or together. And there are those nights when you walk away from TNB and you're a better person for being there. And then you
yeah.
can't sleep. So here's the thing. You're going to be a better person and then you don't get to go to sleep all night long. And then you can text
Well,
Jeff later on.
it's so funny because the people that the first time they show up, they're like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, I don't belong here. I don't know what I have to offer. And that is, hopefully that subsides pretty quickly,
It
once you're in
does.
there.
I didn't believe I belonged there. And if I hadn't have taken Jeff up on the offer that I did at the time, I still don't believe I'd be sitting where I'm at today. And I genuinely mean that.
Well, that's
That
cool. And what's
conversation
great is that
allowed for the next.
now you kind of are the de facto leader of the group as well, because you're like, hey, what about this? You're asking really good questions of me and of the group. And so I think that that's become of value, and something that I could have never imagined when I started it,
No,
or even
I'm
5 years
blessed just
ago.
to be a part of it. And what we'll do is this will put Jeff to the piece right here. In the give that we're going to talk about today, we'll put when the next Thursday night boardroom is, and a way that they could at least find the gateway to come to it. It's free, by the way. But we'll find
Yeah,
a way where they might have to hit a couple buttons, but they still can show up if it's something that it is
yep,
for them. And I can tell you,
yep.
um, I I doubt that my relationships, my partnerships would be as strong if it wasn't for showing up to TNB.
I think that just knowing you've got people that you can count on
Yeah.
to help you, and the relationships. I mean, back when we used to do it in person, because, and by the way, it's not recorded. It's
Nope.
never recorded. So you don't have to worry about this going into the ether, um, and into the interwebs. But when we used to do them in person, physical, face to face, belly to belly type stuff, um, the the thing that was so odd to me is some of these things would go 3 and 4 hours long. And I'm like, okay, we got to go. And I'm like closing my office up and, turning the lights out. And people are standing out in the parking lot and continuing to talk for hours. And I'm like, fuck, everybody get out of here. It's like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and people are still talking. Some people are like, I didn't even leave till at 1. I'm like, oh, gee, wow. So I really think it's something special. And that's something, you know, if you're outside, you can only imagine what it is, but you'll never know until you're inside.
Yeah.
And that's something that's always been very special to me. But it all starts with, like you were just saying, like, how we introduce ourselves, right? The compelling introduction. Is that okay to go move to that right
Yeah, well, I
now?
mean,
So we
that's
can
actually,
do,
yeah, I was coming
yeah,
up to, to the end. We've got, one
yep,
last thing on there, which is, I believe that leading with the give mentality, it's really the principle into every company I've built, partnership. And
yeah,
uncoincidentally, it's the name of the podcast, The Give.
yep,
We ask that every guest that comes to the podcast shares a little sneak peek behind what their give's going to be.
yep.
What'd you bring for us today, Jeff?
So this is actually going to be a two-parter. Okay.
Mm,
The more that you use what's given to you, the more you're going to get. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is we have a thing called the compelling introduction. Not only did I do it for Thursday Night Boardroom, but Nick Peterson and I and Dan Giulianotti had a partnership called the Network. And we would onboard our clients with the compelling introduction so they can articulate what they do, because it's important for people to be able to, and more importantly for you to be able to, as the person delivering your compelling introduction, for you to see it, you to see what you do, right? And for others to see, because when they see it, they can share it. If all of a sudden you're explaining what you
mm,
do and people are going to be polite, not understanding what the hell you're talking about, they're not going to introduce you to anybody because they can't see your value, right? They can't see how that could mean something to somebody. And so when we see it, we can share it. And so the compelling introduction is this literally almost like a fill in the blanks Mad Lib thing that says, my name is blank, right? Like, this is my name. And then and this is really important, the with part, had a client at the network called by the name of Bradley Grinnan. And he had a company. My name's Bradley Grinnan with Own Your Life. I'm like, well, okay. And then he starts talking about how he helps aspiring coaches launch their business, launch their coaching business, get their first client, this type of thing. And I'm like, what's own your life mean? He goes, well, once they're able to do this, they can own their life. And I'm like, you're Bradley Grinnan, the coach launcher. And so now if you go on, in the social sphere, and you look for Bradley Grinnan, the coach launcher, that's him. And there is absolutely no confusing what he does.
mm.
He's the coach launcher,
It's Coach Launcher.
right?
It literally says what it is
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. And so if this own your life, really, what the fuck? I have no idea. Oh, you need to, I want to get into coaching. You need to talk to the coach launcher. It's
Yeah.
like, oh
Duh.
shit, So, and then it's like, and so it's like, my name is blank with blank company, and we provide blank product or service to blank type of customer, client, or person, so they can have blank type of benefit without these types of hassles. And so that's like the first part of it, right? And it's very short and sweet, as somebody gets through that. And it's maybe at that point, it's maybe 25 words. But then there's extra credit. And it's like, commonly our clients achieve blank result over blank period of time and also experience this other thing they didn't know they were going to get
Mm.
without again, the hassle and the bad stuff, right? And so we have this template, and then there's also the 5 base questions from Thursday Night Boardroom. And so what I'm going to do in this compelling introduction is I'm actually going to take you through. I'm going to do a Loom video and put that, send that over to you with the compelling introduction. I mean, this stuff is as basic as you can see, because this was put together 8-9 years ago, right? And it was so funny because people got so intimidated by this simple process that they got so intimidated by the simple process that one gal who had a media company, brought a marketing guy with her to do her compelling introduction. It
Oh
was
my God.
hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it was just, I mean, we were just, yeah,
I'll
there's
tell
been
you,
some
and it
great
sounds super
stories.
simple. It sounds like, oh, I can introduce myself, but I will tell you when you see how it's formatted and what it is, you're actually going to know what you really do better than your previous version of yourself is. Because
Yeah,
when you see
yeah.
this, it lays it out.
Well, and I just did something this last weekend for Douglas James and some of
Sir, I
his
think it's
clients.
Sir Douglas James now.
Oh, good Lord. So
You did,
Lord
yeah, good
Douglas
Lord.
James, yeah. So he, we went through the compelling introduction, and it's funny because people want to talk about what they do, and it's like, no, we provide blank product or service. It's at this point that you don't want to talk about how the watch works. It's like, hey, we're going to get you a consistent pipeline of new clients or new patients. We provide a consistent pipeline of new patients for your business.
Oof.
you know it's not, we do social media and advertising and all. Who gives a shit? What's the thing? What's the cookie? Right? And so that's part of it, part of the training. You're going to be able to give yourself, present yourself in such a way that people are either going to say, I want that, oh my God, where have you been all my life, I want that, or, oh my God, I know exactly who you need to talk to, let me make an introduction. And so that's what the compelling introduction is. And so we will have a training with that. It'll be a video training. But here's the thing, Brandon, what I want to do. If somebody, and we'll put it into the Success Finder, um, in the Thursday Night Boardroom, and
We'll make it
you
simple
know
to
you
go
know how to
from
you
the
know how to make it
podcast
magic.
to the knowledge center and
Yeah,
then the knowledge
right,
center to you. Yes.
right. So if in fact you create a compelling introduction, and and we kind of tweak it back and forth a little bit, and you take the time to create that for yourself, and help me understand what that meant to you, I will then take you to the next level. And that we just talked about, the network, high end mastermind group, that was several thousands of dollars a month. We did something special, exclusive for them, and that was called Deep Impact. And this is now takes it to the point where you're now going through your client journey and the meaning that your deliverable has to them, and asking questions about literally how well you know this person.
Mm.
Because the first question is, what was happening in your client's life 5 minutes before they even thought they needed help? Everybody's like, oh, he wasn't getting enough leads, or he wasn't doing. No, 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 no. This is before that, where all he was saying or she was saying is, this is my life. It is what it is. Because it's important to be able to follow and have somebody back in that trajectory, so you can now create that trajectory point. If you don't know where they've come from, if you don't know what they were tolerating in life, how do you have a starting point of giving them some understanding, some new perspective, and then be able to set that trajectory of their new life and their new success and their new accomplishments? You've got to get it back here. And so we start with that, and then there's about 20 some questions. I'm refining that, about 20 questions that really say a lot about you, your deliverable, what it means to your client, and what it meant to you, and how you were able to learn something new about yourself through your client journey. And so that's
That's
the bonus of the bonus, right? So
that's huge right there. And I want to be what you're gifting, what you're giving to the person that actually takes you up just to take the time, do the homework themselves, and then go back and forth with you, then to that next bonus, that next give. It can't, I mean, it can help change the trajectory of what you're going to do in 2024, 2025 and beyond, because you
yeah.
will now know yourself better than you previously did. That's
and
beautiful.
and the best part about this is, and I've got to, as people continue to refine that, it's really interesting how they go back to the process and they refine it, and it helps them simplify and clarify, you know in a way that wasn't possible before. And I just, and it's just a tool that helps you learn more about yourself, what you do, what you mean to the people you serve, and how important that is to you. Um, and if in some way that even gives you a 2% advantage, I'm the happiest guy in the world.
That's huge. You know, it's the questions you ask and those you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And it
Yep.
time and time again, those are true. They are tested, and you've seen what it's done for you. You've seen what it's obviously done for me. And I'm blessed to call you a dear friend. We've got Jeff Moore, my dear friend, founder of Thursday Night Boardroom. Check it out. He just gifted and gave you a tremendous, amazing opportunity. And I hope to see you on Thursday Night Boardroom next time, whoever's out there listening. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. It's been great.